Doctor Who, Spatial Anomaly by Jason Chippy. Read by Isaac Travers. Sitting above the galaxy stood the Tardis. The azure box floats frozen in time. Inside the time machine stands the Doctor. His face was jagged and bruised, his velvet suit ripped and damaged. He shivers trying to flick the switches on the console of his machine, but as the Doctor tries to, a giant tremor knocks him to the ground, and at that very moment, a spatial anomaly forms around the Tardis. The Doctor panics, trying to maneuver his way out of the cluster, but it was too late. Then, suddenly, a second quake shakes the Tardis uncontrollably. The Doctor, being thrown onto the floor, his face slamming into the console. His vision blurred, he tried to lift himself up. Then, after a moment, he notices something next to him. It was a man covered in crimson robes and golden armor. It was a Gallifreyan warrior, but his armor seems dated. The weapon was primitive compared to what they were capable of now. The Doctor walked closer. "Hello? Who is that?" said the Doctor, stumbling up to greet the man. The warrior looks puzzled at the Tardis. Then noticing the Doctor, he pointed his weapon at him and monitored him to put his hands up. "I am Commander Corvis of the Gallifreyan Chancellery Guard. You must surrender your Tardis immediately," said the warrior. He pointed his gun at the Doctor's neck. He looks around, stunned. "I'm the Doctor," the Doctor said, grabbing the gun. "Who do you think you are?" The Doctor, "I believe you've met my brother, Commander Maxwell," he said with a grin. "I see, but it doesn't seem to explain your weapon or the armor. Gallifreyans haven't used that technology in many years. They were replaced before the final Time War," the Doctor explained. Corvis was shocked and confused. He then sat down on the ground. "The final Time War," said Corvis. "What happened? Can you look back? Anything?" said the Doctor. He stands Corvis to his feet. He stood there for a moment, trying to remember. "I believe I was on a mission. Central invasion to other planets in the 5th galaxy. We barely got away with our lives. Some of our men were ripped to shreds by the sharp blades. Some towed away on the ship," said Corvis. The Doctor runs to the console, flickering on the outside display to see a large cruiser in front of the Tardis. Its lower part ripped to shreds. Half of the power on the ship is out. The Tardis materialized onto the cruiser. To see inside rain stacked. The air was thick, and the stench was horrible. The ship was blistering cold, like a meat locker. As they left the storage room, they noticed something. Multiple of Corvis's men were killed. Their intestines were splattered everywhere. All Corvis could do was to sit there in disbelief. All his men died except for him. He rested onto his knees. He mumbled a faint prayer and stands up, grabbing a phaser from one of the corpses. "I'm sorry for what happened. It was not right for them," the Doctor said. "Let's kill those bastards for what they have done to my men," Corvis said, strutting through the next room. He walked through the corridors, wires and machinery torn out from the ceiling, the lights flickering on and off. He looked around at every door to see it vacant. As he reached the door, the sound of a metallic shredding screeches around him as a tornado-like saw sprayed sparks into the corridor. The Doctor dropped to the ground as Corvis tried to fend them off, but it just shred through the phaser. It then grabbed onto the Doctor, pulling him into the next room, a large containment area. It was covered shelves on shelves, covered in scrap metal. They tried to barricade the door, but it was too late. A huge metallic beast with a saw-like metal surrounding its neck. Its eyes lightened the surrounding area crimson. Its head is sharpened like a chess piece. It started levitating from the ground, standing high, its blade-like neck beginning to spin. It then lowered, coming down towards them with tremendous speed. The Doctor ran to Corvis, pushing him out of the way. The blades of the Sentreal pierced through multiple parts of the shelf, making them collapse onto the creature. The Doctor and Corvis ran for their lives, getting closer, followed behind by the Sentreal. But as they tried to get to the TARDIS, Corvis noticed something. The Central Dome stopped following them. "It stopped following us," said the Doctor, confused. "No, something is here. I can feel it." Corvis was then interrupted by a noise of Sentreal blades echoing around them. But it wasn't an echo. A pack of Sentreals surrounded them, slowly going closer and closer to both of them. Then, suddenly from behind, a high-powered blast destroyed one of them. The Doctor, fighting an outing, grabbed onto Corvis, running towards the blast. It was the rest of Corvis's men. "Commander Corvis, it's you," said one of the guards. "Listen, we need to head to the TARDIS to report this to Gallifrey immediately." Corvis, monitoring to the direction of the TARDIS. They began to run to the corridor, trying to seal the door shut with a sonic screwdriver. But before they can finish, the Central ripped through the door of the hinges, grabbing one of the men and shredding him in half. Blood then splattered upon everyone's face. The Doctor, trying to stop the Sentreal, used a metallic sheet from the ceiling as a blockade between the corridor and the Central. They run to the room and with the TARDIS to find more Sentreals waiting for them. "How did they do that?" said the Doctor, confused. He grabs onto one of the Gallifreyan phasers from one of the corpses flying around them and shooting the wall of the ship, exploding the hull. The hull began to absorb the interior with multiple bodies flying out of the ship, with many of the Sentreals falling out of it. The Doctor and the others hang on to dear life, trying to shimmer their way to the TARDIS. One of the final guards flying out of the hole died instantaneously. Then, as they reached closer to the TARDIS, the rest of the Sentreals burst through the barricades. "Me and my men can hold them off, Doctor! Run for it!" said Corvis, pulling his sonic rifle and shooting out the Sentreals. The battle began, lasers firing everywhere, sword blade-like weapons impaling guards, ripping them apart in multiple pieces. The Doctor was grazed by one of them, his arm profusely bleeding. His head was shaking. The Doctor was discombobulated. He grabbed onto the console, looking at his display screen, activating an SOS signal to his home world of Gallifrey. He tumbled across his arm, still bleeding, looking for something. Then, from under his console, he pulled out a box with the insignia on it, K9. He throws out the box from the TARDIS. It mechanically opened to see a large robotic dog with red eyes, with a bulky body with multiple weapons inside of it. It sprayed the surrounding area, hitting and killing some of the final Sentreals, with only 2 remaining. The Sentreal killed the rest of the soldiers, with only Corvis, the Doctor, and K9 remaining. The K9 unit tried its best to take them out, but the structure of the hull and the combined strength of the Sentreals shredded it apart. The remains of the K9 unit got flown into the void. The Doctor and Corvis were unarmed. All they could do is to survive the Sentreals. But it was too late. They were surrounded. As they were about to accept their deaths, they noticed a slow humming noise surrounding the ship. Then, multiple Gallifreyan guards teleported into the ship, their guns pointed at the 2 Sentreals. With no hesitation, they fired their blasters onto the Sentreal, basically disintegrating the 2 last Sentreals. The guards surrounded the Doctor and Corvis. Their eyes were stunned. "I thought the Doctor was lying. The long-lost ship of Commander Corvis. We shall take it from here," said the main Gallifreyan guard. "Before I leave..." "Thank you, Doctor," Corvis said, shaking the Doctor's hand. The Doctor, while trying to leave, was greeted by the Gallifreyan commander, Salvar. "It is nice to meet you, Doctor. You really did help us out." "Thank you," said Salvar, patting the Doctor on the back. "What? How did I help you out?" questioned the Doctor. "Well," Commander Corvis rebelled against the orders. He helped the people of the 5th Galaxy. He was supposed to help the Sentreals, but helped the people. He interfered, and now he shall die," said Salva menacingly. "But why?" the doctor said, confused. "He was a good leader." "Goodbye, Doctor. Until next time," Salva said, dematerializing out of the Tardis. The doctor sat there in disbelief. The man he thought he had saved actually ended up dying. He started to take control of the Tardis, slowly disappearing from the ship. "I can never help anyone, I guess," the doctor scoffed. "I ended up killing a good man. I should have. No. I could have done anything to stop it." And so it began as it had started. The Tardis, flying above space and beyond. The stars were the only thing that he could see. The Tardis was floating, frozen in